Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We are currently studying the scripture Mysticism of Ramayana. Commentaries by my Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananji, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. We are currently studying the Aranya Kand, and yesterday we were talking about the episode of Sharupanaka visiting Rama and Lakshmana. And today we will study the mystic meaning of that. This dramatic encounter with Sharupanaka has profound mystical implications. In confronting all developments in life, an aspirant has two choices: Preya or Shreya. Shreya is that which is good or pure, Preya is that which is pleasing but impure. Shreya is represented by Sita, who is goodness in simplicity personified. Preya is represented by Sharupanaka, who assumes an alluring and beautiful form to entice Rama, while underneath that facade exists her natural demoniac form, which is quite hideous. Sharupanaka literally means one whose nails are like billowing fans, and she was well known for using those nails to scratch the heads of people while she was devouring them. All the objects of the world that are pleasing to your mind and senses are like Sharupanaka. They stay pleasing until you begin to look at them more deeply. Then you discover a demon underneath their pleasing form. You find that hidden beneath their charm are the terrible claws of attachment and hatred and innumerable illusions. That Preya tries to lure Rama away from Sita. It tries to hinder one's aspiration for self realization by overpowering intellect and taking it away from the soul. However, when one possesses a highly advanced mind and spiritual maturity, he does not fall for the tricks of Sharupanaka. When your will is strong, you are able to look into the defects of sense enjoyments and strip them of their power and enchantment. Like Lakshmana, you clip their nose and ears right off. This act symbolizes the development of Vairagya, which is dispassion, and Viveka, discrimination between the self and not self. With the sharp sword of Viveka, an aspirant chops off the ears and nose of worldly pleasures. The moment one looks at them through discriminative vision, they all seem disfigured and mutilated rather than charming. Once you have convinced your mind that the world of sense pleasures has no abiding meaning, you have as if challenged Ravana and embarked upon a project of destroying ignorance. So be careful, for the fight becomes very intense. The battle of Khara and Doshana. Next episode. Without nose and ears, the hideous visage of Sharupanaka became all the more terrible to behold. She rushed, shrieking and wailing, to her brothers Khara and Doshana, who were stationed in the Dandaka forest with their demoniac armies to impede the spiritual practice of sages there and eventually to fight Rama. After hearing their sister's account of her mutilation, Khara and Doshana rushed with their 60,000 demon soldiers to Panchvati, creating a tremendous dust storm of revenge as they ran. Seeing the approaching demons, Rama and Lakshmana take Sita into a cave, and then he single-handedly fought with and destroyed the entire demon army by creating a special divine illusion. By his divine power, Rama caused every demon to appear as Rama to the others around him. So, since every demon was intent upon destroying Rama, they eagerly chopped off each other's heads, and the 60,000 demons destroyed one another in a very short time. Meaning, Khara and Doshana refer to Rajas and Tamas in the mind of an aspirant. With their vast army of 60,000 demons, they represent what Raja Yoga calls klishta vrittis, all the thought waves of the mind that are dominated by egoism, attachment, hatred, fear and their ramifications, thought waves based on the affliction of ignorance. These klishta vrittis try to subdue Rama, but there is a simple method to destroy them. The secret lies in recognizing that wherever your mind goes, the reality is Rama. If you are practicing meditation and become upset because your mind is running in so many directions, don't try to overpower your mind with force. Just let your mind go wherever it wants, but remind it that wherever it goes, God is the only reality. Behind every name and form, there is nothing but Rama. Behind all thoughts of one's children, one's job, sweet pudding and the moon, there is nothing but Rama. When your mind recognizes Rama or God everywhere, all of its distractions stop and it becomes calm. That is the greatest secret of concentration of mind. Like Rama confronting the vast army of Khara and Doshana, you will destroy all the forces of mental distractions and subdue all negative thought waves in a very short time. Next episode, Ravana plots his revenge with Maricha. When Sharupanaka saw the destruction of Khara and Doshana and their armies, she was immersed in grief, but her sense of revenging on Rama was not yet extinguished. It burnt in her heart like fire. So, using her demoniac powers, she crossed the ocean and went to the island of Lanka, where her eldest brother Ravana abode. Shrieking in anger, Sharupanaka informed Ravana that Rama had taken away the control of Dandak forest from the demons and had humiliated her because she was his sister. She also described the beauty of Sita in a way that would kindle her brother's interest and nurture the seeds of desire as well as revenge in Ravana's heart. Sharupanaka's words hit their mark, for Ravana had long severed a desire for Sita as well as a resentment towards Rama for marrying her. At the time of Sita's Swayamvara ceremony, all suitors, including the all-powerful Ravana, had tried to lift Shiva's bow in order to win Sita's hand, yet all had failed except Rama. This was humiliating to the great demon king, and since then revengeful feelings had simmered in his heart. Thus, taking the mutilation of his sister as a challenge that must be answered, Ravana set out alone to find the demon Maricha and enlist his help in a diabolical scheme of revenge. As you recall, from Balakand, the first chapter of Ramayana, when Rama was still a young boy, he had helped sage Vishwamitra perform a special sacrifice by eliminating the demons that were always interfering with that holy work. During that time, Rama had discharged a blunt arrow towards Maricha, the leader of those demons, which hurled him across thousands of miles until he landed by the shore of the ocean. Since then, Maricha had lived in that place as an ascetic, with his mind filled with thoughts of fear and admiration for Rama and his divine power. Knowing that this Maricha was an expert in creating illusions, Ravana sought his help in a clever plan to kidnap Sita. Maricha listened to the details of the plot. First, he tried to persuade Ravana to give up his plan, but unable to do so, he agreed to do what Ravana asked, knowing fully well that Rama would destroy him for it, but considering that a spiritual honor. While this liaison between Ravana and Maricha was going on, Rama approached Sita at a time when Lakshmana was away from them in the forest and presented a plan of his own. He said, "O Sita, you are most beloved to me. Now I am determined to indulge in a divine sport. I am planning to destroy the greatest of demons. During this time, may you abide in fire and leave behind only a replica of yourself, a shadow." Honoring Rama's words and holding his image in her heart, Sita entered into fire and stayed there in her subtle form. Since the shadow she left behind was a perfect replica of herself in every way, this divine trick of hiding the real Sita was not known to anyone except Rama. Kidnapping Sita. We will be covering this in tomorrow's episode. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Om Tat Sat.